And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Welcome into RBLR Sports. My name is Musaab, and to our listeners, I got a question for you. We're about to hit halfway mark in April, meaning we're getting closer and closer to all the action from the draft to training camp to the start of the 2022 season. Are you ready? Some off-season crazy moves, all right, seriously. And also more positive than negative, so that's also a big thing. Well, listen, I'm ready, but I can't be ready to dive deep into this, all this Bucs related talk with the draft and everything without my two special and awesome co-hosts tonight. I'm going to start off on my left, waving his 3x5 foot creamsicle throwback Buccaneers flag. Ladies and gentlemen, what's up, Santiago?
What's up, Musaab? What's up, RBLR Nation? How's everyone doing? Yeah, good to be back. Sorry, I wasn't here last week, but I'm ready to go this week. Let's move forward. Let's go. Go Bucs.
Amen to that, Santiago. And on my right, ladies and gentlemen, docking the pirate ship, pulling up to the scene with his custom pirate bandana, Bucks edition, of course. RBLR Nation, we got Carter in the house. Carter, how we doing tonight?
Oh man, living lavish, out here. Excited to talk some Bucks with y'all. Definitely excited to be, talking to the RBLR Nation for sure. Shout out to y'all. Thank y'all for listening, and let's get cracking.
Oh, love the energy, gentlemen. And listeners, if you're loving the energy and you have been loving our episodes, if you could do us a favor real quick and however you're listening to this, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, there's probably a follow button, a like button, subscribe button. And also, it would seriously mean a lot to us here at RBLR. But also, I also want to give you a little quick reminder and friendly update that we are on social media platforms at RBLR Sports. All right, well, let's just get into it, gentlemen. Kind of, the most current or any really big update that I've kind of seen is, hey, we got Pat O'Connor. He is back on a 1-year deal. Someone who's been, obviously more primarily focusing on the special teams role. And I do also want to say that personally, I didn't see much of him. No one did because it was kind of banged up last season with a knee injury. But I don't know. I mean, Carter, as you've been saying in the past, I guess maybe familiarity is nice. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the guy's kind of had I don't want to say an unremarkable career, but for a guy that was drafted in the 7th round to last, 5 years in the NFL is pretty impressive. It's clear that he brings a value to this team that can't really be measured on the stat sheet. Like you mentioned, as a special teams guy, as a great depth piece. He's probably a great locker room presence. Just a solid veteran, piece. Just another reunion, and that's really important when you're trying to build a winning culture or continue the winning culture that the Bucs have already built. And so, just more good news for sure.
Dude, seriously, I absolutely agree with you more than anything. It's honestly the familiarity, the veteranship. He's been with us for a while now, and the fact that we are on the brinks of, or I don't know how even to say. I mean, we're a hot team. We're a championship team, and at this point, it's more about saying, okay, well, getting rid of Pat O'Connor is not going to be like, oh my God, we got rid of Pat O'Connor, but we kept him, and there's obviously a good reason for that. We're a good team. Well, actually, we're a great team. Santiago, I'm sure you can agree with that. But Santiago, how do you feel about this? I don't know. I mean, was this something that you're like, all right, sweet, or does the whole veteranship familiarity thing kind of ring to you as well?
Yeah, like when I heard the news that he was signed to a 1-year contract, you know, and he could have, if he wasn't, if he was maybe more decent, right? And he wasn't so well, like they usually do with some players. They put him on the practice squad, right? But he's going to be back in the first team, so he's definitely that's good. That veteran presence in the another veteran presence in the locker room. So I agree that this year we're fighting to go to the Super Bowl. So before the man was deciding if he was going to come back or not. But I'm really happy. I'm very happy that he he's been signed, and you know, let's run it back. Let's run it back for another Super Bowl, man. Let's put that
Absolutely.
third Lombardi. Let's do it.
I have to say, guys, I'm pretty impressed. The fact that I mean, it's still pretty cool even to have guys like him back. But I mean, we've kept a lot of our guys compared to other teams, and that's kind of nice to know that everyone's kind of valuing running it back another year. But of course, some certain moves, Santiago and Carter allowed a lot of people, I'm sure, or motivated them to come back to the Buccaneers. Well, hey, that's kind of the only kind of big thing that I see that's been going on since last week. So we can kind of just transition on to our number one largest need when it comes to the NFL draft, and that's our offensive line. Um, the first thing I really kind of want to know, Carter and Santiago. We'll start off with you, Santiago. Where's your head at for position wise? Where are we looking at? Left guard, right guard, tackle? What do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, it's now that we have a lot of our veterans back, you know, because we do have this center position taken care of with Ryan Jensen, right? And then, you know, normally I believe that some of these players that we're probably going to get into the draft right now, since they're rookies coming into the league, they're going to just learn from. They're going to be trying to soak up as much knowledge as possible from the veterans that we have. So, I was looking at Bernhard Ryman from Central Michigan. He's a top offensive guard. Um, he went from being a wide receiver to being an offensive guard. Like that's very odd. He did that his senior year. Playing out of Central Michigan, and he's one of the top prospects. In the draft. So, you know. And he's a fast learner, man. His 40 time is 5.5 seconds. His height is 6'7", 304 pounds. So he's a pretty big boy. So other than so I believe that we should definitely try and get somebody that, again, like I said before, is going to soak if enough knowledge from the veterans that we have. So
Okay. Okay. So you're
yeah.
you're kind of just looking for is there like kind of a certain maybe person that you think okay they're gonna take their role? Do you see where my head's at? Are they gonna
Yeah,
take
I know what you
Jonathan
mean.
Smith's
I
role,
know.
Aaron Stinney's role?
No, I don't see that. I think because we do have like Aaron Stinnie and Donovan Smith that came back. You know what I'm saying? And then we have Ryan Jensen, and even though Kappa's gone, but um, we there are a lot of veterans still on that offensive line that came back. So these players that are like possibly, let's say we draft him, the player that I just looked up. Um, if we how can I say this? If we get somebody, it's because they're gonna learn. You know what I mean? It's not possibly maybe there'll be
Okay,
a
so
right
so
away
you're so you're
because we do
thinking
have
more so you're thinking more like a future thing, right? You're thinking more
yeah,
like a future investment. Okay. I
exactly,
see
because
where
we
your
also have
head's at.
Tristan Wirfs still, you know what I'm saying, even though he was
Right.
kind of injured last year,
Right.
but we do have a lot of depth on the offensive line that, some of these players that are probably gonna come in are just gonna like learn because not this year, maybe this year, but maybe because of all the injuries that we had last year, but so we'll see.
I see what
We're
you're saying.
definitely
Okay, just
yeah,
someone you're looking for more like a reliable depth piece. All right. All right. All right.
exactly.
All right, Carter, what about you? Where your head's at?
I got to tell you, it's just tough for me to imagine a situation where the Bucs don't draft a guy that they want to start right now, simply because they have to replace the gaping hole that was left by Ali Marpet. Um, with Marpet retiring, that was kind of a shock for me. I don't know about y'all. I didn't really see that coming.
Big shock for me too, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, because he has been incredibly successful. He had some years left on his contract that was going to pay him a decent amount of money. He seemed to really enjoy living in the Tampa Bay area. He's been incredibly active in the community. So I just figured, oh well, this guy's here forever. But props to him. You got to respect a man's decision. He just said, hey, it's a dangerous sport I'm playing in. I'm trying to get out while I'm still, able to walk. So I can respect that. But as far as the NFL draft goes, I'm definitely looking left guard to replace Marpet because they went Mason to replace Kappa, traded for Shaq Mason. They still have Smith and Wirfs. They re-signed Jensen. If they're going to go tackle or center, then they might take a 7th-round guy on one of those positions just for, like Santiago was mentioning as kind of like a project kind of guy just to sit and learn from, like Santiago was saying, from the veterans. So, I don't know. I'm mostly looking at left guard as the primary position of focus just because I don't see any free agents remaining or any eligible guys that they could maybe trade for that's going to play that position or fill that
So
role.
what we're looking at, Stinny's job.
Yeah, I love Stinney, but he's a depth piece. He's
Oh,
not
I'm right there with you, dude. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
he's not really an everyday starter. He's not really a week-to-week starter. He's more of a God forbid someone gets hurt, Stinney can step in. But I don't know. I'm not really
Yeah,
sold.
no, that's kind of the way I see it. You look at our depth chart; it's looking pretty good. I mean, Donovan Smith. At the end of the day, I mean, I think he still gets the job done. Ryan Jensen, he's back. He's our starter. Great, we got Shaq Mason now, which is nice. I look forward to seeing what he's doing, and then obviously Tristan Wirfs, an absolute beast. So the only one I haven't brought up is left guard Aaron Stinney. And listen, I'm not trying to put the guy down, all right, but look, signed a 1 year, so I don't know. Maybe the impression I'm getting is okay, so it's not long term. What they're just maybe giving him maybe just okay, maybe at the last chance. I don't know. All right. Here's what our left guard looks like right now. We got Stinney, we got Leverett, and then we got Sardarius Hutcherson. You should know as well that what's kind of neat or kind of makes things slightly better looking at our left guard situation is that Nick Leverett actually has played all 3 offensive line positions in the past. When I was first kind of looking up the whole situation, I was like, okay, all right, Stinney, I know the guy. And I was like, all right, but what if Stinney, what if we don't go left guard? We stay with Stinney. Stinney goes down. Then I'm like, well, what's the 4-1 on Leverett? Looked him up, ran into a little article on Tampa Bay Times that was saying that, he played all 3 offensive line positions, pro level and college level, guard, tackle, center. So that's kind of neat, kind of nice to know. But then again, I don't know how much of a use that's going to really, really be. I mean, our O-line's already looking really, really hot. It's not like we're looking for a desperate situation. So for that reason, yeah, I'm looking at Stinney's job. I'm looking at someone to give him a fight for it. I got a lot of respect for the dude. Really happy that he's running it back with us another year. He's come in clutch in the past, but the only thing is it's just the way as you said, Carter. I just see him as a depth piece, and that's kind of really about it. So for that reason, Carter, we're going to start off with you. I mean, Santiago already dropped his first rounder. Where's your head at, when it comes to the first round? If this is something, obviously, I feel like we all kind of mutually agree that, this is one of our largest needs, if not the largest. So important pick for sure. And who's your first round guy?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, this is the Bucs' top need. This is what we have listed as the Bucs' top need because, you got Tom Brady back there, and that man is not mobile. So you got to have a good offensive line. And the Bucs have had one of the best for the past 2 years. Since Tom Brady's been here, that was I think that's one of the main reasons he chose to come to Tampa was because they had established this tremendous offensive line. And I mean, they gotta replace Marpet. And I think 2 guys that I was really focusing on, although one of them was definitely a favorite, is Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M and Zion Johnson out of Boston College. And I'm a huge, kind of talking about basketball here, but I'm a huge Pelicans fan. So a guy named Zion, I mean, shoot, got to go after him. But Zion's definitely my favorite. All jokes aside, he's just really stout, and he's with these interior offensive linemen, what you really want to see is a guy that can hold up against the bull rush, a guy that can hold up against power moves, because they're going to be blocking mostly interior defensive linemen like an Aaron Donald or a Fletcher Cox or those big defensive, those nose tackle types of guys. The tackles are handling the edge rushers, the Shaq Barretts, the Myles Garretts of the world. So it's an interesting skill set that they kind of have to have. They're more of a power based position group, and Zion Johnson is certainly powerful, and he's definitely my favorite. Kenyon Green's also great, super athletic, but man, his hands are just tough. He just definitely needs some work in that arena. But the good news for Kenyon Green, he's a little more versatile. He started at the guard, the tackle, and the center position. But like I mentioned earlier, we're looking for a starting left guard here for the Bucs. So Zion Johnson is certainly a solid starting left guard. Pretty much played exclusively that position at Boston College. So that's my pick for the first round.
I guess the fact that, I mean, as you were saying, with your first guy, Kenyon Green, I mean, the fact that he kind of, he's a versatile player. He plays a few, different kind of positions.
Right.
Do you think maybe that's kind of something that's kind of been slowing him down just to focus on one role? Is that why you're
Yeah,
kind of
that's
maybe leaning a little bit more towards Zion Johnson?
Yeah, that's a great point. There's the whole jack of all trades, master of none thing, and the Bucs are not looking for a jack of all trades if they're going to draft an interior offensive lineman in the first round. They are looking for a master of one. They're looking for someone that's incredibly specialized, someone that knows what they're doing, and they have such a hole at the left guard position that's what they're looking for. The only problem with Zion Johnson is just that I don't know that he's going to last to the Bucs. The first round, especially in that 20s range. I mean, my goodness, you got the Titans and the Bills and the Chargers even earlier in the first round. All three of those teams have pretty glaring needs on the offensive line interior. And you typically don't necessarily see a team spend a high first round pick on the interior of the offensive line, but the Bills are such a great team that they could absolutely go interior offensive line first round just because they're really close to being a Super Bowl contender. They're already a Super Bowl contender, so like the Bucs, they're looking to fill out their team. So yeah, I don't know. That's the only concern with me for Zion is just will he last to the Bucs? But if he does, unless the Bucs manage to get lucky and one of the Georgia interior defensive linemen falls all the way to him, I think they got to go Zion. That would be a huge pick for them.
That's what makes sometimes this NFL draft or any professional draft so interesting is there's always guys that everyone's like, you know what, this is going to work out well. It doesn't. And then there's some people that people sleep on and then they start shining out of nowhere. That's what
Mm-hmm.
makes everything so interesting. So I guess we'll just have to find out, Carter. But I'll tell you this, here's where my head's at. As you already said, look, Tom Brady, not super mobile. Obviously, the guy's getting old. And the way I see it is that if I'm any defender, if I'm on the defense, I'm looking at Brady and I'm thinking, oh Lord, this guy knows how to make magic happen. All right. So more than anything, I'm not always primarily going to go for the sack. More than anything, it's more about kind of changing the course of the game, just wreaking havoc as much as you can, disturbing Brady and his whole O line and the rest of the guys. Okay. So for that reason, this is why I would say I kind of lean, and this is why I uh, think that this ought to be our first priority compared to defensive line. It's either going to be 1-2 or 2-1, the way I see it with this draft situation. But I'm leaning more towards O line than D line, only because we got to protect Brady at all costs. I'm obviously looking for a left guard. My guy is Ed Ingram, offensive guard from LSU. We need an inside guy, for the run that can kind of, protect the run game. I think that's super, super key. We got playoff Lenny, regular season Lenny coming back, and I want to see him shine as well. What I like about him is that, he really does a great job of kind of just steering the defenders away to the best of his ability, kind of just slowing them down or something. And, sometimes, when I was watching his highlights and ever, that comes clutch big time when, you only got 2 or 3 yards to cover or something. So, then again, Carter, Santiago, there's always room for improvement. And my thing is probably the thing that I see more than anything that he kind of lacks is a little bit of the explosiveness, more just about, you don't want to be a step behind, especially against the veterans that he's going to go against. Um, I have to say this, guys, also is that with the offensive line and defensive line, I would say overall all positions, but you're working with a different kind of or you're going against a different group of guys. All right, these are grown men, guys. You know what I'm saying? So enough with the kind of 19, 20-year-old big boys. Now it's people who are just bloodthirsty, people like Aaron Donald who are just coming after you and your whole team. So always interesting to see how that kind of transitions, how their skills transition from college to the NFL. So that's always something I'm looking at. But I like the guy a lot, though. He comes from a SEC school. I feel like Jason Light kind of likes those SEC guys coming from these big teams, big power schools. you get the best of the best experience. Obviously, these kind of schools obviously have amazing programs as well. So that's just something on the side. But overall, though, I just have to say I'm going with Ed Ingram just because I see a lot of skill when it comes to having an inside guy, allowing more opportunities for our run game. So we're going to transition on to our second round. Santiago, do you have anyone that you're thinking, all right, maybe we weren't able to, get my guy, my first round guy, but perhaps we can get, this guy in the second round. And who would that be?
Yeah, I was actually also looking at Zach Thorne um, from Wake Forest, and Zach Tom. I'm sorry. And so I mean, and Wake Forest, amazing program, right? For basketball, of course, but college football, they play in the ACC. So also a big boy, 6'4", 304 pounds. So I mean, he's within the top 20. And when we're looking at athletes, or at least for any type of position, and you're right, Tom Brady's not mobile, so we definitely want somebody within that range of because there are going to be other teams possibly also within our division, trying to fill holes, So I was definitely looking at him as well. Pass blocking, 97%, run blocking, 82%. He's overall from definitely some scouting reports here. It says that Zach Tom is a quality pro prospect. He has 3 complete years starting for Wake Forest and has consistently put up elite pass blocking numbers at both center and left tackle. He also displays a highly developed skill set, possesses great instincts, along with outstanding speed and quickness to steer edge rushers aside, along with hand movement to control bull rushers inside. Tom, however, is a little undersized for a left tackle at 304 pounds and can be driven back by stronger rushers. He'll need to get bigger and add 15 pounds for him to become a well-rounded pro. So, like any of these players, they're coming into an environment like Musaab was just saying that you're right. They're coming from playing college where they're playing, kids. Right now they're playing. So I think he'll be fine. He'll bulk up. So I was definitely putting him as a second pick for us.
So
If he's
wait,
available.
Santiago, are you looking at the, because I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but you just mentioned he's a left tackle. So you're looking at the left tackle position.
Yeah, left tackle, or for example, you know what I mean. Ryan Jensen is our best player, but you know how we had a lot of injuries. We definitely don't want to have an injury like Ryan Jensen. I'm not saying that, what I'm saying, but we have to be prepared for anything, okay? So I like players that, can cover more than one area. It's just that, when I'm looking at players like, we've talked in the past, somebody that can fill a hole. If a left tackle, like we were talking earlier about, like, Stinney, that's going to be, he's going to be, uh, with Ali Marpet not being there, with that hole, and then we have somebody like Aaron Stinney that came in and can fill that hole. Okay, that's a veteran presence. I completely understand that, but what if somebody like Jensen goes down? Hopefully not, but
Right.
I mean, we do
So
have
I
to
mean, you're
cover
you're you're
holes.
basically just looking for a versatile player, right? You're looking for a
Exactly,
versatile player, someone more
exactly.
kind of in the
hmm
more you're looking at this more in a futuristic lens and saying, okay, I'm looking for maybe a long-term investment,
Yeah,
someone like a more solid depth piece. Okay, I see where your
yeah,
head's at.
yeah.
Carter, a second round, are your kind of priorities changing? Are you kind of maybe leaning towards where Santiago, you're like, all right, a second round, we got a beast defensive kind of guy in the first round. Let's see what we can do in the second round. Are you also thinking, what? No, let's make the best of our opportunity. We're trying to, have a starter role, be, filled. And yeah, where's your head at with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of value to what like Santiago was mentioning to having versatility. But for me, you're drafting a second round guy right now for the Bucs. I think he has to be a starter. just because, like I mentioned previously, there's not a lot of options out there for the interior offensive line and free agency or through trade. Um, so I'm looking at, I'm still looking at the left guard position. Because if they're drafting an interior offensive lineman in the second round, it likely means that one of those big Georgia guys or just someone they didn't expect to fall in the first round fell. That's kind of what that would tell me if they were going this position in the second round. But a big guy that I really, really think that the Bucs will have their eye on is Cole Strange out of Chattanooga. And like we were talking about this earlier before we started recording, Jason Light loves to draft offensive linemen out of those small schools. I mean, Ali Marpet was out of Hofstra. I mean, he was a D3 guy. So it's just kind of they seem to love to find those diamonds in the rough kind of players. And Chattanooga is, with all due respect, not exactly a powerhouse, as far as college football goes. But he's played almost all of his career at the left guard position. He's 6'4", which is remarkable for. I mean, obviously, all offensive linemen are pretty big, but 6'4" is pretty decent size, especially for an interior offensive lineman. You think of those tackles as being the taller guys, but he's got some great footwork. With offensive linemen, it's like anything else. It all starts with the feet. It all starts with great footwork. You can say that about pretty much any position, but offensive line, it's certainly truer than most. And so for him, I think he's just a great sleeper for the Bucs in the second, kind of an under the radar guy that maybe not a lot of people will see coming. And I'm really excited if they draft him. But who knows? The Bucs could just say screw it and go first round off interior offensive line. But if they go second round, I think Cole Strange is definitely a name to watch.
I like that. Carter, I ran into Cole Strange as well when I was kind of looking at the draft profiles and everything, just because, again, Chattanooga rank, his kind of draft rank was already up there, and I was like, oh snap, from Chattanooga, his draft kind of profile was looking real good. I said, all right, I ought to look into this guy. What I like about him, yeah, he has that versatility. Again, I mean, like everyone else, it's always like he's got tools to work on, but again, he spent time at left tackle and left guard, so that that's kind of nice. And other than that, though, I have to say he's kind of slept on, because I feel like people don't realize that he's pretty darn quick on his feet. Only thing though is that he kind of gets sized up. When I was watching his highlights, especially during the Senior Bowl, I was seeing that he gets sized up kind of easily, especially when the defense kind of gets onto his chest and kind of presses him a little bit. He's shifty, but that means he doesn't always kind of drive with the legs more. Sometimes he kind of gets overtaken, and that's kind of the only thing I'm thinking is if there's anything that kind of lacks is more kind of just steering the defense when needed be, especially for the run game. But by all means, these kind of things, these small little things can be tweaked or whatever. I think he has potential more than anything, which is why I like the guy, and I definitely see why you would want to get him in the second round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just like you mentioned, his upside is tremendous. It can be kind of tough to judge those guys from smaller schools sometimes just because of the lack of competition. But the Bucs have shown that they don't mind that. So we'll certainly see. It's definitely it'll definitely be interesting to watch.
It's always interesting to see, just because how people like him get kind of found, and with such a high ranking, just because the way I see it, guys, is this: that our O line, or any O line, doesn't get as much as love as people like the QB, the wide receivers. So I feel like this guy's gonna stand out for sure. Kind of, this is a horrible kind of comparison, but this is the first one that came to my head. I'm back with these horrible comparisons, ladies and gentlemen. That's kind of reminds you of, like, John Morant, Murray State. You're always thinking, oh, look at all these top guys coming from the big schools, Kentucky, Duke, UNC, et cetera, et cetera. But oh snap, look at this guy, a star from Murray State. So who knows? Maybe it's gonna how it's gonna be for Cole Strange, from Chattanooga. Maybe he's gonna be the John Moran in the NFL. I don't know. By all means, pardon me for that horrible comparison. But hey, listen, as I just said before, by all means, our offensive line needs some love. But you know who also needs some love? Ladies and gentlemen, Mother's Day is coming up, and right after that, Father's Day is around the corner. All right. And what better way to show some love to the lady or the man who raised you than going on to shop.rblrsports.com. And why is that, Musa? Because look, liking and subscribing to us is free, and we appreciate that. Seriously, we do. But if you need some new threads, or mom and dad needs some new threads, or anyone needs some new threads, you can head on over to, I just said, shop.rblrsports.com. You can check out all of our cool designs. We've been updating it recently, so by all means, keep on checking. And you best believe that we got the designs honoring our football team, the hockey team, the soccer team, and the baseball team. We got it all, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what else we got for you? We got a little promo code. What is that? It is Cannons. The promo code is Cannons, Cannons, for 10% off your order. You're welcome. And oh, by the way, there's a link right in the description as well, listeners. So all right. Well, look, we knocked down round one, round two. We're gonna kind of transition on in the later rounds. You know, we're looking at the third, fourth, fifth, sixth round, seventh round. Santiago, you know, who is your kind of maybe mid-level draft player? Why so? Is this maybe someone that's kind of just been slept on, or maybe you're like, you know what? Because he's you know, third, fourth, fifth round or whatever, because he's kind of going to be in the middle of the draft. Maybe he's not going to be the starter. Maybe he still is. I don't know. We're going to find a hidden gem. Santiago, where's your head at, man?
Yeah, I mean, I was just hearing you say about like, and with Carter, like, the small schools like Murray State, but I like to, I like to look at like the big schools, you know what I mean? Like Ohio State, for example. I was looking at Thayer Munson from Ohio State. He's a big boy, man, 6'6", 321 pounds. He's a big boy, and looking at analyzing his, just a lot of these players that are you know, what is it? In the look by some of these mock drafts. I came across him, and it says here that that Thayer Munson offers a lot of first round inspection. He has had 4 years of starting experience at a top football program. Um, so the first two players that I selected for first round and second round, in size, they're smaller than him. I mean, they're smaller than Thayer Munson. So also, he has 4 years at a top program, Ohio State. So that, and then also, looking here, he has displayed versatility, having played both guard and tackle. So again, I like players that can play multiple positions, because if somebody goes down, maybe they can be put in a situation where, like, hey, we're going to need you at guard, we're going to need you at tackle, So, and also, he has a lot left to be desired, and probably, from what I see here, he can be possibly a late, like, fifth round draft pick, in the draft. So, he still has a lot to work on. He has inconsistent footwork and body positioning, and needs to improve his blocking angles. So, you know, definitely, when you're put in a situation where you're with men that know how to play a position and coaches that can teach you how to do, you better become a fast learner, because you're going to you have to protect, like, the best and the best, the GOAT. So if we can get, you know, that's his weakness, right? But, his size, he has solid, powerful hands, establishes a good grip while avoiding holding for the most part. So that's good, because when you avoid holding, you're not going to be called for penalties or flags. He's a big boy that he can, he ain't gonna be pushed around. You know what I mean? He can definitely um, use his strength and to stop the 300-pound, whoever he's covering, to have Tom Brady sacked. So, I definitely was looking at him for sure.
Okay, I see where your head's at. So again, probably just more than anything, a depth piece, huh, Santiago?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, honestly, if Tom Brady wouldn't come back, how we were talking about how before we have like 23 holes that we have to fill. And now we have pretty much have that all taken care of. Now it's just putting the right pieces, like the right pieces on the chess table to protect the king.
Yeah, I see where your head's at, but if anything, I still wanna I still wanna kind of go for more of a starter role, and if we get a guy in the later rounds, in the fourth or
Mhm.
even third or fourth round, I have to say it's probably just going to be because we are prioritizing the defense in the earlier rounds. So
Yeah.
more than anything, I'm kind of looking for a little bit of a hidden gem.
Hmm.
But then again, I'm not also looking just for a complete hidden gem just because again I just mentioned our offensive line or any offensive line doesn't get too much love and it's kind of hard to get really noticed. So if anything, I kind of have one guy that might be a reach later on. Maybe I feel like this guy could be a possible second rounder. It would be nice if we could snag him. Wouldn't be surprised if someone else does. But if we are able to get him in the mid, of the draft, that is Justin Schaefer. From University of Georgia. I feel like everyone knows about the offensive line at University of Georgia. They came through big time, all right, in that championship game against Bama. And this guy's kind of just he just wreaks havoc all the time. This guy's aggressive. He kind of has that punch style. When I was watching some of his tape, as much as I could, there's only so much just because more of the highlight reel is just the whole offensive line. But he has more of that little, kind of punch style. It's more like all right, kind of punch first and then immediately block. Um, Similar to similar to Ingram, a helpful asset on the run game for sure. So his size has been to his advantage. Super big. He's a big boy indeed. He stacks up 6'4", 326. So in the college level, I mean that's scary. But I just want to see how is that going to transition on to the NFL. But if anything, if that's going to be the reach, then I would probably have to maybe get a little bit more realistic and say someone like Jalen Thomas. That's going to be my little bit more of my hidden gem, just because we found people like Marpet and Kappa in the past, kind of later on in the rounds, second, third round. But yeah, Jalen Thomas is going to be my guy. I would probably say in that that fourth round or something like that, third, fourth round, from Southern Methodist University. Obviously, not those kind of big popular schools like Bama, Georgia, or something like that. But more than anything, I really do value his explosiveness. I feel like he doesn't kind of specialize in one thing mainly, but he always kind of gets in the way of the defense. He does something to at least make something happen. Sometimes listen, the QB gets pressured or whatever. That's another story, but he is capable. He is very capable of kind of clearing the lane for the quarterback or running back, especially when it's third down. You need to rack up the yards. So again, kind of with Schaefer, I just want to see how is this going to transfer on to his time in the NFL. But great guy when it comes to power. But like most, I guess the whole shiftiness thing is lacking. But Carter, where's your head at? Are you kind of more on the lines of where I am? I'm still looking for a replacement. Maybe it's kind of like, all right, we went defense earlier on, but we're still looking for a starter. Or you kind of maybe on the lines of Santiago, you're like, third, fourth round, I think maybe we possibly just have to look for a depth piece.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. If you're looking for a starter in the fourth or fifth round, I'm not sure how much success you're gonna have if you're trying to win a Super Bowl. But with that being said, there are certainly cases where teams have found some absolutely excellent players in these rounds. So I certainly don't mean to knock it, but if they are drafting an offensive lineman in the fourth or fifth round, if they've waited until then, that tells me that maybe something has happened since then. Maybe there's a trade or a free agent that I just can't think of right now, or that no one's really thinking of right now that the Bucs take advantage of. Um, but with all of that being said, if they were to wait until the fourth or the fifth round to draft an offensive lineman, an interior offensive lineman, they could really go Lasita Smith out of Virginia Tech. He's a 6'3", 314, pretty solid size, a stout guy in the interior, really physical, great heavy hands. He's really great with using his legs to kind of just drive through on his blocks. He's also tremendous in double teams, and I think that's a huge thing that Ryan Jensen loves to do is just engage in double teams in that interior. Um, but he comes with his limitations. There's a reason why people are having him ranked in the fourth round. His length is concerning.
especially for an offensive lineman, or rather his lack of length. His arms are just short. That's why we called him stout because he's not really lanky. He's not super long. He's not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to have a large area that he can block. So it can be kind of tough. But he's a 3-year starter at Virginia Tech, which is a pretty major school, and he's like I mentioned, his strengths. He's shown a lot of skill, a lot of strength, and we'll certainly see if the Bucs take a flyer on him in the 4th round for sure.
You think, Carter? You think any of those draft scouts called him T-Rex because of the small arms? I don't know.
I mean, shoot, with the tape that I was watching, like as much as he was dominating the ACC defenses, he definitely did look a little Meet the Robinsons T-Rex ish, which is not exactly something you want to be described as in any case, but especially as an offensive lineman. So yeah, I mean it's definitely tough, but like I said, he's still got a lot of positives. There's a reason he's going to get drafted, and the Bucs would certainly be lucky to have him in the 4th round, especially where they're picking. A lot of drafts have him going a little earlier in the 4th round, but if he were to fall, why not take a chance on him? So yeah.
Okay, I see where your head's at now. All right. I mean that's I agree with you. I think perhaps maybe it will be kind of hard to look for that starter, but you never know. Maybe we do get lucky and we end up snagging a gem or something like that. That'd be really neat. Um, I gotta say though, yeah, at this point, guys, I mean, it really just comes down to who are kind of the people who have been slept on, and if anyone, my last guy is Nick Ford. He's a guard from Utah, and again, kind of just similar to Jalen Thomas, from Utah. Obviously, it's not like huge school base. Shout out to Pac-12, but he racks up a lot of experience though. He spent 5 years, playing college football, so that's kind of rather something to think about. That he's a good leader, racked up experiences, 3-time All-Pac offensive lineman. I just think that he's an underrated pick. If he kind of falls in the later rounds, or honestly, he probably will be available. It just kind of comes down to what the office thinks. It's just going to be tough. I mean, you're thinking we haven't. I mean, they're going to get a guy probably by then, but if not, um, he's my guy. Again, the shiftiness is probably the reason why he's kind of ranked so low compared to the rest of the guys. But I gotta say though, he's pretty darn quick to latch on to the players, which is kind of neat. If anything, kind of slows down the game. So I don't know. I mean, if there's one thing, there's just one specific skill, Santiago and Carter, that we're looking for. For example, look, I brought up a few things. Oh, this guy's good in the run defense, or he kind of gets in the way, kind of good on the pass protection, this, that, or whatever. What is that one skill that you're kind of looking at? Something that we've been lacking, that's causing danger to us. That you're saying, what, this is something we need to focus on, and this is why. We'll start off with you, Santiago.
Skill. Well, in general, I want to see someone. It was very frustrating, and when we were in the playoffs last year, how many times, in that last and the, when Brady was sacked quite often. You know what I mean? And when we're talking about depth, is it pretty much? It's That's pretty interesting. I don't know. We have so many holes that we have filled recently that possibly another wide receiver, maybe. You know what I mean? If we're talking about, I would like to see depth, possibly at center, because Jensen's our only good one right now. You know what I'm saying? He's our only one right now. I want to see at least another center come in. That's what I would like to see, just in case.
But I mean, no, I'm talking about kind of maybe more on the lines of kind
The
of
offense,
skill
yeah.
wise. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is here, I'll kind of maybe guide you on this path of whatever I'm talking about, and that is what I was talking about in the first and second round. but someone like Ingram, super good on the run defense, gets in the way, steers the defense. That's what I'm looking for more than anything. I'm not looking for some massive dude who can kind of just slow down someone. I want to see someone who can make some moves, who has the vision. All right, more than anything, I want someone who has the vision, someone who's already shown me that in college. Surely there's a lot of things that you can just learn throughout your experience, but more than anything, I think this is why it's my priority to kind of get an offensive lineman earlier on in the draft. I
Of
think that's just more
course.
important than anything. And then if it just comes down to we're prioritizing defense earlier on, and then we got to fall on later on. I would think that by latest we get someone in the third or fourth round max, but that's about it. At that point, then I think we're just going to be, I guess, running with Stinney or just saying, all right, well, let's take the risk, find a gem. Maybe he can give a fight, with Stinney for that starter spot. But what about you, Carter? Where's your head at with that? What are you looking at? Maybe certain skill wise. I told you mine is run defense. Do you have something similar or different?
Yeah, I mean, with the interior offensive line, you always, like I mentioned earlier, you want a powerful guy, maybe get more of a strength guy than a finesse guy. But it's definitely the run. The run blocking is certainly important. I certainly never want to undervalue that, especially with Leonard Fournette, and they recently re-signed Giovanni Bernard. They got Keyshawn Vaughn, so it's certainly really important for them to be able to run block. But I think pass blocking has to be number one, just because with Leonard Fournette is such a skilled playmaker that he can almost, I don't want to say make up for an awful offensive lineman, or at least he can run some people over. You know what I mean? Like he can make some guys miss in the open field. So
Yeah.
while the run blocking, I certainly don't want to de-emphasize that. I'm going to go with more of a pass first kind of guy. Just because, like we've been saying, Tom Brady is not going to be Lamar Jackson out there. He's not going to be like a sixth offensive lineman. So it's definitely going to be for me more of a pass blocking guy.
Yeah. So now I understood very well now what we were talking. How you were explaining it. Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I had selected as my first round offensive lineman was Bernard Ryman. From Central Michigan, because when I was looking at his strengths, right? He's tall, reliable blocker with long arms and good agility. Um, and has solid initial punch, knocks rushers off the route. So, and, it's amazing. Something else as well about him that he wasn't even born in the U.S. He was born in Austria. He came over from Austria to the U.S. So it's like, how do you get yourself into a sport that is not even, you know,
I guess he's probably just a
you're
big boy, and they probably just
he's
toss
a
him on the field. That's it. They probably just say,
right.
you know what,
They
you
probably
can probably
some
play some football. You a big boy, you can play
exactly
some football,
right. You're like,
and
I
you
like
can
your
run with it.
size.
Yeah,
Exactly, I like your
listen. They
size.
probably
You know what I
said,
mean?
oh yeah,
Like
they probably told me, they said, listen, you come from Austria, you ever want to make it in the big leagues, make some money, you got the
yeah,
size. Who knows? Who probably knows? But okay, I see where your head's at now. All right, so
yeah.
more along the lines of Carter. Hey, I gotta ask guys, with all this kind of draft talk we've been doing, these past few weeks, do you think that anything's kind of changed? Do you have different feelings on where we kind of rank our positions? I don't know. I still feel the same way. At least 1, 2, 3 is going to be, offensive line, defensive line, and then our DBs. After that, then I'm kind of just more flexible. But those three things are like the big three for me, for sure, for sure. But we'll start off with you, Carter. Has anything changed for you, or do you feel the same way looking back at it now?
No, I'm 100% in agreement with you. It's got to be O line, D line, secondary, in whatever order they deem fit. The tight end position is getting a little interesting. Gronk's making the city of Tampa sweat a little bit. He hasn't been re-signed yet, which is, I don't want to say concerning, but it's a little a little icky, because it feels like he's definitely provides a lot of a lot of great things for that offense. Obviously the familiarity with Brady is huge, but he's also a tremendous blocker and he's a great red zone threat. So, missing that would be pretty big. So who knows if Gronk comes out and says that he's done, then the tight end position might overtake something. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Santiago, what about you, man?
Yeah, I agree with both of you, I agree with you, Musab. That's what we have to, and I believe it can be in that order, D line, O line, and that's correct, man. Gronk, that's why does he have so many Super Bowls, with the GOAT, like he's a special player, man. So I hope he comes back and maybe he's on Clearwater Beach somewhere, maybe have some good food at Frenchie's or Palm Pavilion down there. Maybe he went to Hogan's, hang out, you know what I'm saying, and brother, you know, um, but hopefully he can, honestly come back. If he doesn't, then, we do have to address that in the draft.
Well, maybe he's 50-50 and he said, you know what, sweetie, let me go listen to RBLR and maybe they'll kind of let me decide, based on what RBLR is thinking. And, maybe if they give me a shout out, maybe, I'll be like, you know what, I'll come back. Maybe that's what it is. I think, listeners, I think we've been creating all this sweat and I apologize for that. I think that Rob Gronkowski, after today should come with a little bit more of a confirmed decision as to what he wants to do. But that's not a promise. That's just my feeling. So don't hold me to that, though. But yeah, any kind of final remarks? I have to say, looking back at it, there's just so much I guess we still got to do. And I feel like the closer we kind of got to, number 3, 2, 1. It was like, all right, now it's really time to focus on this. I was spending a lot more time, looking at offensive line and defensive line. And all I really have to say at the end is I think it's either going to be 2-1 or 1-2, meaning either D line, O line, or O line, D line. And that's kind of just the way I feel about it. But Santiago, Carter, anything else to say?
I'm excited, man. Like I can't wait till the lights shine in Vegas and it's finally the draft and see who we're gonna pick in the first round. You know, the draft is exciting, man, because we get to finally put some the final pieces to our team. If there's anybody, we've talked about so many players in different positions, you know, starting a while ago, like about a month or so ago or two. And, we've done this for a while, so I cannot wait, till they get called and, see some of these players help us, get back to the Super Bowl. That's what I'm definitely looking for. And maybe they can, you know, I know a lot of them have Spotify. They have to look up RBLR and be like, we have to check out what Musaab, Carter, and Santiago are saying. Oh, maybe we can follow them, RBLR Sports, and we can follow each of them on their accounts. You know what I'm saying? So, maybe they hear the RBLR Sports. Oh, wow, they have a website. Wow, they have a store. Oh man, I got to get some gear. And we can see them in the press conference. RBLR. Well, that's what I want to see. You know what I mean?
I love your excitement, Santiago. I really do. And more than anything, yeah, this is the next kind of big thing during the off season that I feel like we all had to really look forward to is the draft. I love the draft just because it's always full of surprises, no matter what, whether it's our team or anyone's team. It's like every year there's always this kind of pick that raises your eyebrows. Let's be honest, or I'm gonna be honest, gentlemen. It was Kyle Trask for me last year that raised my eyebrows. I was like, oh, all right. I'm not gonna say I was happy or mad with it, but I will say is I feel like a lot of people were like, "Oh, all right." But Carter, do you have anything in regards to the draft? How are you kind of feeling? We're getting closer and closer, and that's got me fired up, and I know it's got Santiago fired up as well.
Yeah, the draft is always one of my favorite parts of the year, so I'm pretty excited about it as well. Just to see some new blood in the NFL, especially and with the Bucs. That's it's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. Certainly going to be unpredictable, like you mentioned. The Kyle Trask this thing last year kind of took me by surprise. So we'll see if the Bucs pull off any weird stuff this year to take us by surprise. You know, if they trade up, trade down, who knows what they're gonna do. Yeah, so I'm pretty hype. Let's get this thing going.
Hell yeah, I love it, Carter. The way I kind of see is, listen, you're giving like a bunch of money and now it's time to invest in it. So now, it's going to come down to some people who are going to invest a lot of money into the wrong stocks and they suffer, and some of them are going to invest in, these hidden little penny stocks and then they start booming. I don't know. We're in for a treat. That's all I will say. And listeners, I really want to thank you as well for investing your time and listening to RBLR Sports. Seriously, we appreciate it. I can never ever think about ending this episode without saying thank you to y'all. So seriously, we really mean it. We love y'all, and we hope you love us. But hey, to catch all the latest, you can follow us on our social media platforms: Instagram at RBLR Sports, Twitter RBLR Sports. All right, and again, we are on social media platforms. All right, you don't have Spotify, that's okay. We got Apple Music. Don't have Apple Music? Okay, well, we got YouTube, iHeartRadio. We got it all. Believe me, you can find us. And yeah, that's really about it. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive in all things Buck related, especially regarding this upcoming draft, position by position analysis. By all means, if you have any kind of comments or concerns, feel free to comment on any of our posts on our social media platforms. We'd love it. Seriously, we love feedback. Next week, we'll be docking into enemy territory, checking out the NFC South. All right, it's always this division is always interesting. I feel like every single year by year, it's at least always two teams more than anything, or sometimes it's like all four teams are fighting for that position. Earlier on this offseason, it was a huge mystery mark. And now we're kind of, narrowing it down. Things are getting more specific. A lot of offseason moves going on with the Bucs, Panthers, Saints, Falcons, all of them. So, yeah, tune into that next week. But hey, 2 more weeks. All right, 2 more weeks and the draft fun begins. Believe me when I say time flies, gentlemen. Carter, Santiago, can you believe we've been like yapping for an hour?
It doesn't feel
That's
like
that's what I mean by time flies. We got so many things to say. We're getting closer and closer. I got a lot more emotions to feel about this draft just because I'm realizing, oh my gosh, the time's finally come. Just because we finished the Super Bowl and we're like, oh, I mean, not the Super Bowl, we finished the playoffs loss against the Rams, and we're like, oh, Super Bowl is like, all right, something to watch. But after that, it's like, oh, no football. But finally, something important football related is popping up, and for that reason, to all of my listeners and fans, or to all of our listeners and fans, word of advice: don't procrastinate on this draft or this upcoming season. Don't wake up Thursday, April 28th saying, oh no, my grill is all dirty, or oh no, I'm super low on the beers, or oh no, the draft already begun. It's going to be a good night on Thursday in Tampa Bay. Stay fired up, stay ready, and as always, listeners, go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.